Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to backup Tibero databases on Linux CLI or command line interface using Ahsay OBM. Ahsay provides complete protection for all your Tibero database servers on Windows and Linux platforms through the use of full database and archive log backups for the latest point-in-time recovery. Our solution offers customers full flexibility, allowing them to choose between backing up selected databases or the entire instance. Ahsay supports Tibero database servers hosting on multiple instances. This enables customers to tailor their backups for each individual instance. Ahsay supports hot backups for Tibero database instances, which include database files, control files, configuration files, and archive log files to ensure 24/7 uninterrupted user access. To maintain the integrity of the data during full database backup process, a temporary lock is placed on all selected databases. This does not affect the operation of the Tibero database, but is essential to prevent any new data from being committed to the database while backup operation is ongoing, ensuring complete data consistency. Once the backup is complete, any new transactions generated during the backup process are then permanently applied to their respective databases. Ahsay OBM offers archive log deletion, a feature that automatically deletes archive log files which have already been backed up from your Tibero instance, which have reached a certain user-specified amount of days. Ahsay takes the stress out of Tibero database recovery with our automated recovery process, allowing for quick and reliable recovery from any point in time with the choice of either manual or fully automated database recovery. The video will be in two parts. For the first part, I'm going to show you how to create and configure a backup set via Linux CLI. For the second part, I'm going to show you how to add Ahsay Drive as your destination storage via the web console and how to run a backup via Linux CLI. Let's go to my screen and let's start to create a backup. Connect to a Linux machine using an SSH client like PuTTY. Log into the root account. Then change directory to the bin folder of OBM by entering the following cd command. Enter the following script to launch Ahsay OBM. Choose option 1 and enter your login credentials. Select option 5 to generate a new backup set. Then select option 5 for Tibero database server. Ahsay OBM will create an XML file and save it in the .obm folder. You can configure the backup set settings by using a text editor. You can either quit the run configurator.sh script or open a new SSH session to edit the XML file. For our example, I will choose option 8 to quit and go to the path indicated to edit the XML file. Configure the XML file by using a text editor. I'm going to use VI to configure the backup set settings. Enter the following to open the text editor. After entering the text editor, we are going to configure the following settings. Backup set name, a temporary directory for storing backup files. Remove temporary files after backup. Compression type. Tibero database server settings. Tibero database home, Tibero login ID, Tibero password, Tibero host, Tibero port, Tibero SID. Selected source, deselected source, enable scheduled backup. For our example, we will use a weekly backup, So we are going to remove the section for daily, monthly, and custom setting. We're going to enter the name of the schedule, start hour, start minute, type of backup, interval, and backup on these days of the week. After that, the name of your destination, the directory to store your backup files, enable the duplication, and the duplication scope. In order to configure the settings of the backup set XML file, we need to input the required settings in the value data field inside the text editor. For the backup set name, I'm going to input Tibero database backup CLI as our backup set name. The temp folder is the default location where Ahsay OBM temporarily stores backup set index files and temporary restore files. The best practice is to set the temporary directory to another local drive for optimal backup and restore performance. It should not be located on the same partition as the operating system, because if that drive fills up, it could cause the backup machine to crash, preventing your backup from running or completing. It shouldn't also be set to a network drive, as it could affect both backup and restore performance. For the temporary directory for storing backup files, I'm going to input the path /mnt/data/temp, which is on another drive, to store the temporary files in. For the remove temporary files after backup, the default value is Y for yes. We'll leave it on the default setting for our example, which removes temporary files after the backup job has finished. Next is compression type. For the compression type, I'm going to select Snappy Default Compression. For fast with optimization for local, this is the optimal setting for our backup set type. You can change the compression type at any time after the backup set has been created. Next is Tibero database server settings. For the Tibero database home, input the home path of the Tibero instance you want to backup. If the Tibero server is hosting multiple instances, you may need to contact your system admin for the correct path. For our example, I'm going to input /home/Tibero/Tibero/Tibero6, as this is the path to my Tibero instance. The default login ID used is sys. Input sys in the login ID value data field and its corresponding password in the password value data field. It is recommended to use localhost as the Tibero host, as Ahsay OBM is directly installed on the Tibero database server. Input localhost in the value data field. The default port is 8629. If your Tibero instance is set up with a different port, please input it in the value data field. For the SID, which is the Tibero system identifier, you may need to contact your system admin for the value to input here. For our example, I will input Tibero in the value data field. Next is selected source. These are the databases that you would like to backup. If you have more than one sources to backup, copy the whole key script, then enter the path in the value data field. Input Tibero database server in the value data field in order to select our Tibero database as our backup source. Next is deselected source. These are the databases that you would like to exclude from the backup. For our example, I'm going to leave the value data field blank to back up all the contents of our Tibero database. Next is schedule settings. Input Y in the VI data field to enable automatic backup schedules. There are two backup set types, database and archive log. Create a backup schedule for each type to optimize the efficiency of your Tibero database server backup. Typically, this entails performing both database backup on a weekly basis and archive log backups every day outside working hours, which also minimizes any impact on end users. When setting up a backup schedule, consider the hardware performance of the machine, the network bandwidth, and the retention policy settings. In order to create a weekly backup set at 8 p.m., we need to configure the weekly settings only. You can set a scheduled backup for daily, monthly, and a custom setting. But we don't need to configure them for our example, so we will be removing those sections in the XML file. I've already removed the daily, monthly, and custom setting from the XML file. Now, let's start to configure the weekly settings. Enter the name of the schedule in the value data field. I will input full database backup schedule as the name and enter 20 for the start hour and 0 for the start minute in order to set the schedule to 2000 hours or 8 p.m. For the backup type, input database in the value data field for a full database backup. Set the interval to -1 in the value data field as we will be using a non-periodic backup. For the days of the week, set the Saturday to Y, then set the rest of the days to N in order to set the automatic backup schedule on Saturdays at 8 p.m. In order to create a daily archive log backup set at 8 p.m., we need to configure the weekly settings only. Copy the same settings from the database backup schedule, then we'll alter some of the settings. Enter the name of the schedule in the value data field. I will input daily archive log backup schedule as the name. Set the hour to 20 and the start minute to 0 in order to set the schedule to 2000 hours or 8 p.m. For the type of backup, input log in the value data field for archive log backups. Set the interval to -1 in the value data field as we will be using a non-periodic backup. For the days of the week, set Monday to Friday to Y, then Saturday and Sunday to N in order to set the automatic backup to Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. For the destination setting of our backup set, this will be separated into two parts. First, I will discuss how to add a local folder as the destination of our backup, and then later on, I will discuss how to add Ahsay drive as our storage destination. The default setting is set to local destination settings, which means that the backup will be saved locally on the machine. Enter a name for your destination. I will input local backup as the name of my destination. Enter the path to where the backup will be saved. I will input the path /mnt/data/local-backup as this is the folder that I created to store the backup files. For the deduplication settings, we have a choice to enable or disable it. Enabling deduplication will remove duplicate copies of data that helps save up to 60% of storage space for database backups. For the scope of the deduplication, we have a choice of whether it would cover the same file path within the same backup set or all files within the same backup set. If you select same file path within the same backup set, the deduplication applies to the current backup job and it applies to the duplicated contents within a file. If you select all files within the same backup set, the deduplication applies across different files in the same backup set. For our example, we will enable deduplication and choose all files within the same backup set as the scope. Enter Y for yes and B for all files within the same backup set in their respective data fields. When you're done editing the XML file, press Escape, then type :WQ to save the changes made. Go back to the bin folder by typing cd/usr/local/obm/bin. Then enter the sh script sh run configurator .sh to launch Ahsay OBM. Log into Ahsay OBM again using your credentials. Then choose option 4 to input the backup set settings file that we edited earlier. It will verify the data provided, and if there are no errors, it will prompt you if you'd like to encrypt your backup. Select Y to enable encryption. Ahsay OBM will then give you 3 options for encryption. You can choose between default, user password, and custom. For our example, we will choose option 1 for default, and it will use Ahsay's AES 256-bit data encryption to generate a 44 alphanumeric character encryption key to encrypt your backup set. Remember, once you have selected the encryption settings, it cannot be changed afterwards. If you need to change the encryption settings, you would need to create a brand new backup set and back up all your data again. Choose option 1 to view the list of backup sets available. Then choose option 2 to select the backup set that we just created. After choosing the backup set, it will display all the settings that we entered in the XML file. Also, it will show you the encryption key for the backup set. It is important to keep a copy of the encryption key. If you forget or lose your encryption key, you will lose the ability to access and restore your backup data. Once you have secured the encryption key, press enter to continue, then option 8 to quit Ahsay OBM. Then, open your web browser in order to add Ahsay drive to our destination storage. Log into your backup server. Then click the user tile. Click backup set. Then click on the backup set that we just created. Select the destination tab. Tibero database backup sets exclusively support sequential backup mode. If you intend to back up your Tibero databases to both the Ahsay drive and the local drive, Ahsay OBM will perform the backups to the destination storages sequentially. Click on the plus icon to add a new destination storage. Choose Ahsay drive, then click on the plus icon on the lower right to save the changes. Ahsay drive has now been added to the backup destination storage. Click on the save icon on the lower right to save the changes. Go back to PuTTY and log in to Ahsay OBM. View the list of backup sets, then select the backup set that we just created. Ahsay drive has now been added to the destination name. Verify if the scheduled backup settings are correct. Exit Ahsay OBM, then enter the command cat-root/.obm/scheduler/debug.log to view if the scheduled backup is running with the correct settings. You can see here that our scheduled backup is correct. The next backup will run in 4 hours and 44 minutes, which is 8 p.m. tonight. To run a backup job, enter the following sh script along with the name of your backup set. Your Tibero database has been successfully backed up by Ahsay OBM. And that's how to back up Tibero databases on Linux CLI using Ahsay OBM. With Ahsay, your data is fully protected, armed with the latest technology like immutable backups, where your backup data will never be encrypted, deleted, or modified for total protection against hackers and ransomware. Strong AES 256-bit data encryption ensures that your data is encrypted during transit and when your data is stored, to prevent anyone from reading your data without your permission. Two-factor authentication, to prevent anyone from accessing your data without your permission. Multi-destination backups, to store your backup data in more than one storage destination and across many geographical regions, for maximum protection against natural disasters, fire, or conflicts. And data deduplication, a feature that removes duplicate copies of data that helps you save up to 90% of your storage space, with significant savings on your data storage costs as well as much faster backups. That's why you should choose Ahsay. Your data is safe with us.